Hello, and welcome to Art Minutes. I'm Patricia Tomlinson, curator at the Appleton Museum of Art. Today, I would like to show you a piece by Andy Warhol from our permanent collection entitled Flowers. Before I get into detail about the piece, I wanted to talk a little bit about Andy Warhol. He was born to Slovakian immigrant parents, and his mother especially was a big influence on his art career. She was a very talented embroiderer and artist, and taught him drawing while he was in bed with an illness as a child. She also bought him his first camera, which had a profound impact on the way that he saw the world as well. And I think you'll see that as we talk more about his art. In 1949, he graduated from the Carnegie Institute for Technology, which is now known as Carnegie Mellon University, and studied pictorial design, and then immediately went on to become a professional advertising illustrator. He was hired by Glamour magazine. He was very successful at what he did, won numerous awards, and it was really interesting that he should turn to fine art. He seemed to seek more recognition for what he did in the fine art world, and that is predominantly why he seems to have turned away from advertising and into fine art. And of course, this all culminated in 1961 when he started producing his first pop art prints. Now, pop art is short for popular art, and the movement originated in Great Britain and then eventually found its way across the ocean to the United States. Part of what pop art is about is knocking fine art off its pedestal. It is mass produced. The imagery comes from various bits of advertising, popular culture, comic books, magazines, and things like that. It's really kind of mass producing art for consumption. And of course, it's a big product of its time. Pop art became very popular in the 60s and 70s, which was when advertising in the United States was really kind of at its zenith. There were a lot of products being sold to post-World War II successful consumers, and it was really kind of in this vein that pop art got started. When we look at this piece, we see a relatively square canvas. We see very bright green, leaf-like and grass-like forms with bits of black in between, and also 4 flowers. Now, the story that goes with this piece is that he had a curator who was a good friend of his who suggested he started making something a little more lighthearted. Until this time, some of Warhol's pieces had been very political, very dark, about death and things like that. So this curator friend of his suggested that he make something about flowers or something easy. The story goes that he opened a magazine. There was an advertisement for Kodak cameras and film in this magazine, and it showed flowers. Warhol took this idea, modified it, cropped the image, made the flowers non-distinct so you can't tell what type of flowers these actually are, and really kind of zoomed in on the image. Now, one of the things I really think is genius about this as well is if you look closely, all 4 of the flowers are slightly different colors. Also, the apparently random assortment of them really makes for a successful composition. When you look at the spacing between these flowers, it really allows elements of the background to pop forward and become center. So therefore, your focus is continuously moving from the background grass-like forms to the flowers and back again. In keeping with the mass production nature of pop art, also, Warhol printed quite a few of these pieces. The flowers varied, sometimes even the background varied slightly, but there were a lot of different manifestations of his flowers prints. The type of printing that he used for this particular piece is called offset printing. And what that is a way basically of preserving the printing plate. The image on the plate is offset or transferred onto a rubber mat, and then many more images can be made without damaging your original printing plate. So it's kind of a really terrific way to mass produce images without destroying the initial plate with the original image. I also wanted to mention that pop art and Andy Warhol's art in general is really a commentary of the times in which it was made. This was the 1960s. Technology, fashion, and even societal norms were changing dramatically. So I think pop art really kind of fits into that overall vibrant, experimental, fresh, new culture that you're seeing emerging during this time period. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to sharing more Art Minutes with you soon. Make sure you follow the Appleton Museum of Art on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.